Wow, we're always treated such incredible and inspiring music to celebrate Shabbat with. So the Talmud tells us that a woman once turned to Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, and she offered this question: if creation was completed in only 6 days, what has God been doing ever since? And Rabbi Yossi gave this great answer. He says, God spends his time building ladders, for some to ascend and for others to descend. For some, because they need to take that opportunity to work their way up slowly but slowly and to seize opportunities and create great things. And for others who need to tone it down and be brought down a little bit because they've got beyond themselves and beyond their purpose. So it's very possible that this teaching about ladders was inspired the Kutzker Rebbe, one of the great Hasidic storytellers in particular, who asked his students this question. Now we got the rabbi asking the students, who is higher? Someone on the 10th rung of a ladder or someone on the 25th rung of the ladder? The students looked and said, this is Pshita. This is a rather simple question. So they all responded, Rebbe, the one on the 25th rung is obviously higher than the one on the 10th rung. And the Rebbe said, not necessarily so. Who is higher depends on which way the person is heading. This whole idea of a ladder, I think, was inspired by this week's Torah portion, right, where we read of Jacob's remarkable dream about the angels ascending and descending a ladder that was reaching to the heavens. As our rabbis point out, if ascending comes first, because it says they were ascending, that means the angels begin where? Not in the heavens. They begin here on earth. In our lives, we have often encountered what we would call angels on earth. Not divine beings, but beings, people who have the divine in them, who act to aid and even save others. So there are many dramatic samples of that. People who put their own lives at risk to save others. We remember that from 9/11. Everybody was rushing out, and the police and the firemen and the first aid, they were all rushing in, and they knew the risk. And then the stories which will come out, some have already, but many more will come out from October 7th. People who ran towards the disaster to try and save anyone they possibly could save, and many of them lost their lives in that effort after having saved so many others. Or people who visit the sick and deliver meals to the elderly or disabled. A very simple thing, but you're ascending the ladder rung by rung every time you do that. And you're angels to them. People who become mentors to youngsters who are missing models, role models in their lives. And we could all list so many, many more. Angels on earth, people who are ascending the ladder, trying to reach higher into the divine, to bring some holiness into this world. A good question, therefore, to ask ourselves and to think about is where we are on that ladder. Are we ascending or descending? Are we reaching for the next rung and trying to do more and do better? Fix God's very broken world? Could we be taken for angels in the lives of others who need us. The world resists being static. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as standing still. We're either moving forward or we're going backwards. We're either ascending that ladder or descending that ladder. We can't stay on any one rung. And that's how it is with our souls. We're always in movement. We're always changing. Hopefully, we're always growing. So the metaphor of a ladder occurring when Jacob first leaves home reminds us of that growth being our responsibility. It's true for individuals, for institutions, for communities, for countries, for civilizations. It's either moving up that ladder or it begins to descend the ladder and collapse. So in a confusing and often scary world, we turn to our traditions, our community, our convictions to help us grow and reach that next rung. Our patriarch Jacob, he was running away from home. He had deceived his father. He had stolen the blessing. He was really running for his life because Esau was a kind of explosive character. And it was dangerous. And that's when he dreamt of this ladder, of the angels. Jacob was scared. He was alone. He was fearful. He was in doubt. But that ladder stretched to the heavens. Between heaven and the human heart, God had offered him a ladder. That's what he gave him. He gave him a ladder, which we go back to the original story. God's building ladders. Here's the ladder, Jacob. There's rungs. You going up it? Or are you going down it? You going with those angels up? Or are you coming down with the other angels? He came there in complete despair. He had no hope. He had no vision. He had no future. He was left with nothing. Remember what he slept on? He slept on a rock because he literally had nothing. His father didn't even send him with 2 servants to accompany him. He ran for his life. He had nothing. He owned nothing. He was afraid. Then he gets the vision, a vision of hope. God repeats the promises to Jacob that he made to Abraham. This land will be yours, and you'll have many descendants, and you will be a blessing to the world. So now he has that renewed blessing. And then it says he got up on his feet and he started to move. He lifted his feet. In other words, he felt light. The burden was gone. He goes to his father's homeland, and then he sees a well. There's always a well, because at the well is where the people are, right? That's where the life is. And he meets people who knew his family. And then Rachel comes. And we're told Rachel's over here, the friend's over here, and here's the well. And the Torah says something very strange. It says the stone was very large. Who cares? Why is the Torah telling us the size of the stone on top of a well? Well, there's a good reason. Because after he finds his father's family, and then he sees Rachel, he runs up that stone all by himself, and he rolls it off so that Rachel can now water the flock. Now, remember Jacob when we first met him? A homebody. His brother was strong and rugged, and he was, stayed home. He cooked, right? He wasn't out there playing football or hunting. He wasn't what we call a man's man, right? Now, he has a mission, he has a hope, he has belief, and he sees Rachel. All of that is future. All of that is climbing the ladder, and the symbol is he's now confident enough in himself. He runs up, and he does what he could never do before. He realizes he has an inner strength, and he removes that stone. And as soon as he does that, the flock can water itself. That's all about life. He realizes he has a future, and that future can be bright. He envisions his future. He believes in his future. nothing has really changed, because at that moment, he still has nothing. But he has hope, and he has a purpose, and he has a vision. And as a result, he began to ascend the ladder, rung by rung, until eventually, at the end of his life, who is he? He's Yisrael. He's no longer Jacob. He's not the one who follows and grabs onto the heel and gets dragged through life. He's the one who struggles with himself, struggles with God, and comes out victorious. It was that vision, that hope, that realization that he could be like the angels going up the ladder instead of the angels coming down the ladder. And that here on earth, he could accomplish his mission to become Yaakov, Jacob, Yisrael, Israel, the father of the 12 tribes, and the one who created the foundation of what became the nation. The vision was fulfilled. The people returned to the land, built the state, and are becoming and are a blessing to all of humanity. May we all be privileged to work our way up that ladder rung by rung as we overcome challenges and we find a vision, we find hope, and we find purpose, as did our ancestor Jacob so many thousands of years ago. Shabbat Shalom.